Most people walk through life unaware of how easily they can be steered. A compliment shifts their priorities. A hint of disapproval reshapes their behavior. The threat of losing someone makes them compromise on things they swore they never would. But every now and then, you encounter a man who moves differently. His reactions don't match the script. He doesn't accelerate when pushed, and he doesn't freeze when guilt is thrown at him. His mind operates on an internal rhythm that can't be hijacked by anyone else's emotion. This kind of man isn't difficult or unreachable. He's simply someone who has taken the time to understand what governs his inner world. Most manipulation relies on one thing: pulling a person toward their own fear. Fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of inadequacy, fear of disapproval. Once someone knows which fear controls you, they own the switch that shuts down your judgment. But this man has removed those switches, not by pretending he's fearless, but by examining the parts of himself that once made him vulnerable. He looked at the loneliness that used to scare him and realized it was survivable. He faced the disappointment of being rejected and found that it didn't rake him. He acknowledged his flaws instead of hiding from them. By doing so, he made it impossible for others to use those wounds against him. People sense this. They notice quickly that their usual strategies don't land. Where most men respond immediately to affection, he doesn't interpret warmth as currency. Where many collapse under pressure, he pauses, studies the moment, and makes a decision based on reason rather than panic. Where others cling to the person who threatens to leave, he steadies himself and steps back long enough to see the situation clearly. There's a kind of psychological weight around him, not heavy or intimidating, but grounded. Conversations don't derail him. Emotional swings don't sweep him away. Even arguments fail to provoke the chaos that manipulators depend on. He understands that the first goal of manipulation is to destabilize someone, make them rush, defend, justify, apologize, react. He offers none of that. He stays measured, not out of coldness, but out of control, real control, the internal kind. He's learned to observe before absorbing. When someone becomes dramatic, he looks for the motive beneath the performance rather than getting trapped in the noise of the moment. When someone tries to guilt trip him, he weighs the claim carefully, separating truth from exaggeration. When someone uses silence as a weapon, he doesn't chase them, because he doesn't feel responsible for fixing emotions that aren't his to manage. This doesn't make him emotionless. It makes him discerning. He feels deeply, but he doesn't surrender his direction to emotion. He enjoys affection, but he doesn't mistake it for commitment. He listens to people, but he doesn't treat their opinions as commandments. His independence is not rebellion, it's clarity. Clarity about what he values, about what he will and won't accept, about who he chooses to allow into his life. For manipulators, this clarity is frustrating. Their influence relies on fog, on confusion, urgency, emotional bait, and the fear of losing stability. But he creates his own stability. He doesn't rely on another person's validation to feel grounded. His identity isn't built on being wanted. He doesn't negotiate his boundaries for the sake of harmony. The very things that allow manipulation to succeed simply don't exist in him. People attempting to sway him often reveal more about themselves than they intend. The liar exposes their discomfort when he stays silent long enough for the truth to surface. The seducer exposes their insecurity when they realize he isn't impressed by charm alone. The controlling person exposes their weakness the moment they see that intimidation doesn't redirect him. Even the emotionally unpredictable eventually recognize that he won't be pulled into their storm. His strength doesn't come from superiority. It comes from self-possession. He has confronted his own contradictions, his fears, his past mistakes, his emotional blind spots. This gives him a calm that cannot be manufactured, a confidence that doesn't require performance, and a presence that doesn't need validation from anyone. It also gives him the ability to walk away without bitterness or theatrics. When a situation demands distance, he doesn't crumble. He chooses the separation because peace means more to him than approval. A man like this doesn't respond to manipulation because he has nothing to trade, no desperation, no hidden hunger for external reassurance, no belief that his worth depends on someone else's perception. When a person attempts to lure him using desire, he evaluates the intention. When someone tries to provoke jealousy, he recognizes the insecurity behind it. When someone threatens to withdraw love, he quietly acknowledges that love offered conditionally is not worth chasing. He is immune because he has matured beyond the psychological dependency that many never outgrow. And this immunity gives him an uncommon power, the ability to choose his life without being steered by impulse or external pressure. He listens to people, but he doesn't abandon his judgment. He feels connection, but he doesn't surrender his autonomy. He cares for others, but not at the cost of betraying his own mind. In a world where influence is everywhere, social pressure, emotional manipulation, romantic bargaining, guilt, praise, fear, he stands out because he isn't shaped by any of it, not out of rejection, but out of mastery. He directs his life from the inside outward, not the other way around. And once a man reaches this point, the landscape of relationships changes for him. He stops being a reactive participant and becomes a deliberate actor in his own story. The psychology of a man who cannot be manipulated is not mysterious, it's simply rare. It is the psychology of someone who has taken ownership of himself so fully that no one else can claim any part of him. And in a world built on persuasion, expectation, and emotional leverage, that level of sovereignty is perhaps the purest form of power a man can possess.